Government should give catering sector opening date as soon as possible. Following the government announcement of a review of social distancing requirements, Catering Association UK and other bodies have demanded that it gives a clear and definitive date for when business can reopen. We and our non-member need confirmation of the reopening date for catering industry without any further delay. Any business needs time to prepare, and the first step in giving them so much needed clarity is confirmation of when they can open their door again. This is very important as we anticipate 80% of the business will be by booking in advance. If the sector is to reopen on the 4th July, we only have just over 2 weeks from today. So the time is of the essence. If the business are to be successful on reopening, government must confirm the reopening date now. Clear guideline on the reopening and confirmation of further 12 months loan payment holiday and suspend, reduce VAT payment. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, my panels.
Good evening.
Good evening. I've got with me Tony Singh from Director, the Protect Box. And with me, Natasha Gupta, Interior Designer and owner of Blue Feather Designer. How are you, Natasha?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Tony, you had a long day today, I believe. You just came home.
It's busy, I think, with a lot of sectors opening up already. Regards to sort of the hairdressers now, and pubs and bars are getting ready to open. We're doing a lot of consultancies with restaurants and bars, and basically the industry to get them ready to open on the 4th of July, hopefully. So fingers crossed it can happen.
Sure. Thank you very much for taking your time and joining us tonight. Natasha, you had a pretty relaxed few months, I believe, as an interior designer.
Opposite, actually. It's been really busy. Yeah. Okay. I've also been helping schools reopen as well with the social distancing within the schools, and obviously old and future clients needed help with their social distancing measures as well. So it's actually been really busy.
Sure. Good. Viewers, we want to, the restaurant sector, we are anticipating it should open on the 4th of July, and we should get an announcement very shortly from the government, especially with the 2-meter distancing. Tony, it's still, I believe, as we speak, still is 2 meters, isn't it?
It is, like I said, it is still 2 meters, and obviously we've got to work to that. Obviously, there's lots of guidelines and sort of meetings going on at the moment to make it commercially viable. It needs to be reduced. At 2 meters, currently bars, restaurants can only work at probably 30% capacity, which, if you look at it, is not going to be viable economically in regards to profitability at 2 meters. Bearing in mind the extra staff you're going to need in regards to being a restaurant and having people dining in within those sort of spaces. Making that small difference of reducing it to 1 meter will give restaurants up to 65-70% capacity. So it really does need to, initially, if it can be, obviously an opening is the key, at 2 meters. And then, there needs to be a reduction really to make it viable for restaurants to open up. Really, it needs to be reduced to 1 meter, which will give the restaurant industry the capacity to move and be economically viable and profitability wise as well.
Thank you. Natasha, there are a few bodies, I believe. We are from Catering Association also lobbying. We have wrote to the government as well regarding the distancing as well to be reduced with some other points we raised as well. What do you know about that as well? Do you know something about that? As we discussed earlier on, there are some other bodies that we are lobbying this as well.
Yeah, I think everybody in the industry is actually lobbying because obviously, as Tony said, it's in everybody's economic interest to reduce it to at least 1 meter. And I think over Europe and everything, they've all gone for the 1 meter distancing as opposed to 2 meters. The UK is the only one for 2 meters with no real rationale behind it. So the ones that are lobbying quite aggressively are the pub and bar associations, because obviously they're whole business is based around a social atmosphere with a lot of people there. So yeah, it's going to hit them very hard. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Sure. That's good. Now we want to play a little video before I'll go to Tony. Is to do with basically the products that we would need it in our restaurants. So we're going to play a little clip now, a video. Yes, Tony, we've got a lot of other ones that are basically there are a few of them are missed out there as well. Yes, tell me about your products, Tony. I mean, basically, what we need is a lot of anticipation or talking about how we're going to put screens and everything. And this is where you come in. Can you please tell us a bit more about the products in your company, please?
It is. So we've developed a range of screens that are going to be adaptable. I think the video you saw were what other sectors have developed. We've developed for other sectors at the moment, regards to hairdressers, boutiques, etc. as well. The main thing is obviously dividing the space so there's a protection barrier between, especially in restaurants, from one table to another. Our screens are very adaptable. We have screens that are counter positioned, so they can be placed on bars and counters across the restaurant. The main thing is the partitioning of the restaurant and how that's going to work. Obviously, trying to maximize the space as much as possible, I think, and depending on how the meter rule is going to work, the restaurant needs to be divided with a partition of some sort to give you the extra capacity. So if there is the 2 meter distance in place, the tables are going to be spacely divided in the restaurant with a partition of some sort regards to one table or another. I think it's key regards to diners coming to dine at the restaurant to know that the restaurant have taken the necessary step to be compliant with the government legislation regards to having the signage in place, regards to what they've done. PPE is going to be very key as well. We've obviously not touched on that. I don't think there was any sort of pictures on the PPE that's going to be available for the restaurant industry. Again, face masks, gloves, sanitizing stations on entrance is going to be very important, just to make sure you make the diners feel as comfortable as possible, really, to make sure that the restaurant has taken all the necessary precautions in regards to making them having a great experience at their restaurants, really, to make sure that the partitions are in place, the PPE is correct, the signage is correct, and those measures have been put in place, really. So screens are available, different kinds at different budgets to suit all restaurants. The look is going to be key.
Sure.
Most of our screens are adapted so they can be branded to make them feel a bit more in place with the restaurant. They can have company logos on there. They're transparent, so it doesn't appear to be like a brick wall between diners. That gives them flexibility if you can see through the restaurant, but still having the clear perspex screens there as well. There's obviously marketing opportunity as well, because most of our screens can be branded with either manufacturer sort of logos that can sponsor the screens, Cobra, VT, or any other brands that you use. So there's definitely a bit of commercial awareness there as well. But like I said, there's a whole range of screens starting from £50 going up to, I think there was a picture of one there, which was a screen that is retails at about sort of £700 to £800. So the key we're trying to get is these screens can be used after the pandemic as well. So the rollable banners, the clear banners, can be used for advertising purposes around the restaurant. The partitions we brought in can be, they've got to be sort of, pleasing on the eye. and the key is to make sure they do the job initially, and then to be used and not be a waste of money going forward as well. So
the point that you raised, obviously people will invest a lot of money in the partition, putting the partition up and everything.
Yeah.
Is this something that obviously it has to be eye-catching, and they can leave it there for after COVID-19 as well, can they not?
That's correct. So what we're trying to do, the range we have is, it's, you know, the rollable banners can be used at a later stage with regards to even externally on the outside of the restaurant if they've got the space and there's an al fresco dining area. The partition you see there with the plantation within it, the LED lighting, it can be a great feature in a restaurant as well. So not only are you dividing the space, but it's a great feature for clients to see as they walk in. It's a bit of a wow factor as well. And again, all these products can be branded. So you know, it won't look like a blank canvas when they walk into the restaurant to see, you know, they've just been put up there for partitioning. It needs to blend into each sort of restaurant's theme. You know, we can brand them with different colors.
Can I bring Natasha into this? Obviously, Natasha, from her background of interior designer, Natasha, what do you see? How do you see? I mean, the screens and everything all over the restaurants from your eye as an interior designer?
I think Tony's made it quite clear on, you know, it needs to work within the space, and I think that's really, really important. So you've probably seen a lot of images going around on Twitter and, you know, all social media and things where people have done some ridiculous things in their restaurants, which is quite off-putting as well. So what you want to obviously avoid is anything that looks too clinical or, you know, uninviting.
You scare the people away.
Exactly. You know, the whole point of a restaurant is to have that experience and that atmosphere. And, you know, if you've got like Tony was saying, if you're sitting inside a box, it takes away from that. So, you know, I think, you know, as Tony was saying about having things that are branded or at least work within the scheme, it's really, really important. Obviously, maintaining the distancing between tables is important for economic reasons, but, you know, there's other things you can do as well. So, you know, you have to try and think about what works for your space and your type of eating place as well. So something that works for a casual diner, for example, is not going to be the same for, say, for example, a high-end restaurant. So you have to really think about what works for your space. Sure.
This is very important, because obviously we just don't want to chuck things here and there and make it you know, I don't know, like a warehouse or something like that, because we say, especially with the small restaurant, it is going to be a lot of hard work to sort of like design it, or in a way that, you know, it suits the restaurant, suits the eye as well. Anyhow, Natasha, obviously Europe is ahead of us. They've already opened the restaurants and everything. The business is doing okay. I mean, they're following the 1 meter distance, and, you know, I've seen in France it's picking up quite rapidly.
Yeah, it has. And I noticed a place in Tel Aviv recently that couldn't cope with the demand. As soon as lockdown was lifted, they had a queue outside the door, which is, I think it's really positive, and it's really inspiring for us in the UK to think that that's going to happen to us as well. And I actually do believe that it will. I mean, if you look at the market here compared to Europe, you know, overseas, they didn't really take to takeaways very much. Takeaways and deliveries were not very popular. Because people were more wary about having things from outside, whereas the UK has been really supportive of the hospitality industry, and the takeaways and the deliveries have actually, I think, exponentially increased over the past few weeks. So,
hugely, yeah.
So I think that's a positive.
That's the positive, isn't it? Because obviously it will be something that after quite a few times, if you look at McDonald's, the queues and everything outside is it's massive. Tony, your screens, obviously the prices, I mean, the restaurants have 20 seats, they need about 10 screens and stuff like that. So minimum, any restaurant, I would say about 10 to 15 screens. It is quite a bit of investment. It's just not the screen, it's other stuff to protect the customers and everything. So tell us about your pricing in a restaurant of 20 tables.
Yeah.
let's say 20 table restaurant. If we were to put screens, probably a minimum of 10 we need.
Again, it depends on tables that they're using within the restaurant, whether they're square tables, round tables, and 2-seater, 4-seater tables, etc. The good thing about our screens, they're actually can be moved, so they're not fixed, which is a great thing. So as the restaurant has busier and sort of peak days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, off-peak days on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the screens can be divided as they are, depending on how busy the restaurant is. So most of our screens are, transportable, so from one area to another. They're not fixed, which is a great thing. So that's the key to it, really. You can go as you can go as your business gets busier. So it's if you find you've invested a lot of money in screens, it's not working. You can sort of divide the restaurant up differently. But like you said, a restaurant which is about sort of 20-seater, initially I would say between sort of 5 to 7 screens, 8 screens initially, because you don't know what the demand's going to be.
No, not the 20-seater. I meant say about 15 tables. So it's going to be more.
Tables. Yeah.
Yeah. So you need a little bit more screens, like about 10.
You would do.
Yeah.
Like I said, there is a range of screens we do, depending on every budget. Our screens start at little as the main thing about restaurant is they've got to be floor standing, because they've got to be from the floor going upwards. It's not as if you're a convenience shop and you only want one at the counter where the public are going to be interacting with you. The whole point of the screens is to keep you safe, keep the guests safe as they're dining from one table to another. So there's got to be some sort of partition that the diners feel comfortable with when they're sitting in their space, that they're protected from other diners within that area, and from obviously everything else. So, the range starts from little as sort of $79.99. That's a floor standing one as well. So you've got a complete coverage there.
Is this, how much did you say?
$79.99.
Is this the one that, if we can tell the viewers that this is the one that is the roller banner?
No. That's the one it's a white, it's corrugated strong perspex, not perspex, it's a vortex and cardboard screen.
Okay. I
think it's in the video there,
okay.
Which is a floor standing white screen with a sort of PVC window as well. But they can be branded in any color. So if your theme is red, yellow, pink on the restaurant, or whatever it is, a mixture of colors, it can all be branded with their logo at a very sort of minimal cost as well. The only thing with restaurant is they've got to be floor standing, which does slightly increase the price, because the height has got to be at least 2 meters. So you need at least 2 meters worth of screen, because if the diner or the waiters are standing up, the height is got to be at least 1.8 to 2 meters. So there's a lot of screen and partitioning that needs to go within that space. Normally wide, they're about 1 meter wide and about 1.8 to 2 meters in height. And again, available in different materials. The price, like I said, starts at $79.99. But for any sort of catering association member or video, we are offering discounts of up to 10 to 15% on that price. On any other sort of screen they sort of purchase from us. And as well as that, also the PPE. I think that's going to be a key as well, regards to diners coming in and saying, make sure the waiters and the staff have got PPE. The sanitizing stations as well. I think when diners first walk into a restaurant, there needs to be some sort of sanitizing station that can be visible to diners to see that they are available and that they're being used. So those with mixed with gloves and sort of masks. Again, the masks can even be branded. We do branded masks to make them feel that it's a corporate image for the restaurant as well. Some restaurants maybe want to sort of have a theme going on between the sort of screens and the PPE, etc. as well. So again, it depends on the budget of the restaurant, but the range starts from $79.99, and then it's exponential. Really, it can go up to about £700 to £800 for a wow factor with with LEDs and plantation and bubble screens. We do flotation screens, etc. as well. So it's endless what they can have within a screen and on their budget, really. But starting price would be around about $79.99 going upwards, really. So if you're looking at sort of 5 to 10 screens, it is quite an investment on the restaurant's part. But we're always trying to sort of limit and bring down the prices as much as we can.
Because this will be this is one of the main factor is that the investment that's going to go in. Obviously, you can't just leave it, Natasha, because it's going to cost me a lot. We can't just put something there; it doesn't go with the interior, Natasha.
I think it's also, as Tony's saying, you have to think about your budget at the end of the day. Obviously, at the moment, cash flow is tight anyway for everybody, with revenues up to a third of what they used to be. And that's obviously going to continue until things get back to normal. So cash flow is obviously going to be a huge issue right now. And I can understand how people are worried about spending too much on this, that, and the other. But firstly, it's all about consumer confidence. So you want to be shown to be doing things to make sure that they're safe and they're, well looked after, not just the customers, but your staff as well. So you don't want staff leaving you saying that you're not looking after them. So that's obviously very important. But I think if you're really, really stuck, what I would advise is think about your space as a whole. So if you can't afford things like screens, I've seen people like tape off certain tables that, especially if they're fixed, you can tape them off to say you can't sit there. If you've got freestanding tables or furniture, you can remove them completely, for example, so you kind of space it out a little bit more. There are other things you can do if your budget is actually too tight. The areas that I think you definitely do need screens is the cashiers, as Tony was saying earlier. Obviously in a restaurant that's less likely, but perhaps at the bar or anywhere where you'd be facing a customer, one-on-one. So if you've got like a hostess station, for example, there might be a screen there, around the bar perhaps, or anywhere where you'd expect person-to-person contact is where it's most important. Between the tables, if you can, if you want to avoid the screens, the benefit of the screens is obviously that you can pack more tables in and have more covers in your area. But if that is a cost concern, then there are other things you can do as well.
Yeah, now obviously this is one of the questions that I'm getting. That is, if he were to, it's going to be roughly about a couple of grand or something for a small restaurant to invest on it. So there was a question. That's why I brought this up as well. Is this something? There's something. Obviously, everybody has to think how they can accommodate this, and this is something that, obviously Tony's ones are not that expensive, but I'm sure Tony can do something with the screens for the customers that who are looking for a budget one. Tony?
Yeah, we can do, definitely. Like I said, we're able to, what we want to do, because we're on the show, we're offering discounts to anyone from the Catering Association that's looking to get a screen. Again, budget is, we're trying to do the best deal we can, regards to we understand how difficult the situation is.
Tony, it's not just the screens and stuff, because you've got the EPA, you've got the mask, you've got the sanitizer, and on top of that, people will be thinking, are we going to get the business? Is the customers going to come out? He's investing this money and stuff like that. So that's it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. And do you invest and try and sort of, get that sort of public confidence that's saying, look, A and B restaurant have got everything. It looks good. They look, I feel comfortable dining there. Like we said, it's got to be an experience. The ambience has got to be good. Otherwise, they're not going to spend. They're not going to come in. So what we do tend to find is obviously the higher end restaurants are investing quite heavily already. They've already started to bring in the PPE. They've already we're already consulting with sort of big brands regards to how they're going to go forward with their sort of vision of when that opens up on the 4th of July. But, every restaurant, has got to, it's one of those situations like every sector really, every sector's had to invest. You look at hairdressers, for instance, and salons that are going to open up at the same time. They're looking to open on the first week of July. And even salons, probably the turnover is probably less per person as a spend, but they're going to invest in screens that are going to go between their sort of stations, PPE, screens for nails, etc. as well. So it's the number of screens is quite high there, but
the reason for investment is you're going to get return on your investment. So people are going to see that you've adhered to the government legislation, and hopefully the volume of business will come in. So
Sure.
do you do it or don't you do it? I think the restaurant will know its clientele. They've been trading as a restaurant for a number of years. They've probably had discussion with some of their sort of patrons regards to when are you opening, what are you going to be doing? We want to come back and dine at your restaurant. What steps are you taking to do that? So I think the restaurants, if they
You're right
invest,
there. I mean, basically, Tony, you're right. What you just said. Yeah, I have a lot of conversation with restaurateurs, and this is what they are talking. The customers are supporting the locals, their local restaurants, and they are looking forward to coming back. They are asking, when are you opening, how are you opening, and stuff like that. This question is floating around everywhere, and the customers are eager to come back. They are there, as you just said that. And obviously, regarding the you mentioned about the salons and stuff like that. Obviously, they'll be charging quite a lot. Me and you, we don't need it. I think we can use the machine at home.
Well, I said, just going by what's happened with other sectors again, I can only go by that experience because restaurants at the moment haven't opened, so we can't expect that. But with other sort of local councils have helped other businesses to get off the ground. So they've actually invested in the opening of stores. So we've supplied screens to lots of high streets where the council or the local neighbourhood, like a Pearly Beard organisation, have contributed towards the screens, PPE, etc. So there is help out there.
That's quite interesting. Is this a local council that you're saying?
We do. There's different schemes that are going about at the moment. I think where not restaurants, but the high street in general, the retailers pay £200 to £300 a year, and then there's a association that looks after the high street, make sure it's cleaned well. There's flowers in spring, and there's market fairs.
It's for the high street as a general, but for an individual business, I think it's going to be really tough. Because there'll be so many businesses asking for that help, isn't it, Natasha? It'll be quite tough for a council to support all the businesses in the borough to put the screens in the restaurants.
I think the councils have already made
all the screens. I mean, they get maybe one or two they'll pay for. But there is some help there, at the end of the day. I know there's grants available, the startup bounce back grants, loans available as well, which a lot of business I've spoken to have taken on regards to different sectors, you're not paying interest for a year. So, the bounce back startup is available to obviously the restaurant and entertainment industry as well.
Yeah, I think, like I said before, because cash flow is such a problem, people are going to be jumping at these grants anyway. But you definitely need to think about talking to the council and seeing what's on offer in addition.
You've got some other question, Natasha, you want to ask Tony?
I was just going to say that there's
I can't hear anything, so sound.
Can you hear us, Tony?
Oh, I can now. Yes, I can now.
Okay, yeah, go on, Natasha.
Okay, I was just going to say that there's
Natasha, I can't hear Natasha.
Oh,
you can't hear Natasha, yeah?
No.
Hold on. Can you, Natasha?
It's back.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can now. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say that with regards to buying any protective PPE screens and things like that, you need to be careful who you buy from as well. So there's obviously been, since all of this has happened, there's a lot of companies that are popping up all over the place. And Tony, you've obviously been around for a lot longer, so you're somebody that people can trust, whereas there's other people that are kind of popping up all over the place that might not really know what's needed. So that's something for people to be careful of.
There is definitely that. I mean, especially on the PPE side of it, with there's lots of fake masks going around. There's sanitization gels that say they've got 70% alcohol and there's not, etc. So the gloves, there's fake gloves going around. So you've got to be careful what you buy. Again, price dictates what you buy, but you need to make sure that they're certified and get the certification certificates when buying PPE, and all of us come with that. etc. as well. So
yeah, this is going to be very crucial. What Natasha just brought up, obviously, who we buy from and who you get in. So it is going to be looking at the companies that who are reputable, who's been there for a longer time, rather than a new company just popping up here and there. Also, Natasha, I want to ask you about some other social distancing measures, such as this door sensor and other stuff. You want to discuss about it?
Yeah, so obviously social distancing is what everybody's worried about at the moment, but I do urge viewers to think about everything else that you need to be considering at the moment as well. So Tony obviously mentioned a couple of things like the hand sanitizers on entry, but that also needs to be on entry to the toilets as well. So any high traffic areas, you'd need additional sanitizing units, would be very beneficial. Obviously in and out of the kitchen as well for the staff. Things like door sensors. So, you know, that the ultimate goal is to have things that are as contact free as possible. So, you know, entry to the toilets, for example, having sensors on the doors so that you don't have to touch them, for example. There are things that, you know, obviously you're going to talk about money again, is like, this is all going to cost a lot. And yes, that's true, especially if you're retrofitting, it will cost a lot more. But you can get things like door operated levers for things like that, where you don't have to touch it again. So, you know, the point is, again, not to touch the handles, but you can use your feet instead to operate the doors. So there's that kind of thing. So again, you know, thinking about your budget, as we've been saying before, there's obviously things that you can spend a lot of money on, and there's also things that are more cost effective as well. So kind of considering your budget, but there is options out there for everything.
Yeah, but
sorry, carry on.
Sorry, go on, Natasha.
I was going to say the most expensive thing that people will probably need to think about, and actually it hasn't been talked about in the UK very much at all, is the HVAC systems. So the air filtration is a huge thing, and in Asia it's a kind of obligatory thing that all commercial areas have them. Dubai again is very, you know, anything you build that's new, you have an air filtration system, but it's not something we're used to in the UK. And it's known to help things like COVID, stopping the spread and things like that.
Is it some kind of a ventilation for the premises?
It's a filtration unit, so it's filtering the air that's circulating within the premises. Yeah. So air conditioning is actually a big bad thing right now, which people need to avoid, and everybody's got them. So you really need to think about adding that filtration system. And I've had so many people say to me, "Are you crazy? We can't afford it. These things cost thousands and thousands." And I would absolutely agree with you. I understand that that's going to be a huge cost implication. But if you are obliged to do it, say in a couple of years' time, when you haven't thought about it, then you're going to be stuck. So right now there is quite a lot of options on the market. You can get standalone systems as well. That cost, I think, about £400 for a standalone system that will cover a decent area as well. So you can think about that for the time being, while you think about maybe having an integrated system later on.
So it's getting tougher and tougher, eh? It's getting tougher and tougher.
Again, you know, like we said, it's a matter of cost, and you know, for restaurants to be viable, it's important for the customers to come back again and again. You know, to attract customers back to a restaurant, you know, you've got to be seen to be sort of applying the legislation, demonstrate that with conviction. You applied to the guidelines that to the full extent, you know, with whatever you're doing really. So it's a repeat business that restaurants need. Because they're working on lower capacity, you know, and every little bit does help. I know even Natasha was saying, you know, the air filtration system. I'm talking about PPE and screens, and it all seems that it's money. But it's a bit of an unknown for the restaurant. You know, we don't know what's going to happen, what the trade's going to be like. But you know, those restaurants that can be seen, you know, conforming to what legislation is and what it's going to be, I think the ones that are going to benefit going forward with regards to diners coming, you know, and repeat business is key, really, you know, for diners. You know, you want your customer base to come back week after week.
I think looking at I think looking at last couple of months, the takeaway business and everything, people are staying in, eating eating takeaways and stuff, and the scenarios in Europe. It is optimistic that the diners will come back to the restaurants, but this is where we need to sort of show them the measure that we've took to keep them safe for their next visits and stuff. I think this is going to be key element of it, because people will rush in to dine, but how we keep them separate from others, this is what determine their next visit, isn't it? Natasha,
Exactly.
I'll bring you on that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the whole point in all of this is to, you know, encourage customers to make sure that they feel safe and looked after. But again, you know, make sure that they're welcome as well. So as you said, people are going to be rushing through the doors. You can see in the news the past couple of days, the shops have opened and people have gone crazy. So it's probably going to be the same as soon as restaurants get the go ahead as well. So, you know, I think we haven't got things like contact tracing in place at the moment in the country. But if that did come out to play, as a restaurant owner, would you feel confident in saying, I've done what I could to protect my customers, to protect my employees? And I think that's what's key right now.
Also, how can you manage traffic flows in the once the restaurant's open?
Yeah, so exactly. So when you know, when you have got this huge influx of customers, which I'm very confident that will happen, you're going to need to be able to manage them throughout your premises as well. So coming through the restaurant, going to the toilet, coming in, coming out. And Tony's got some great signage that you can put on the floor that, you know, once all of this is over, you can remove it. So it's, you know, you don't need to worry about it blending in, but it will help. It'll help guide the customers come in and out of the property as well.
Sure, because it is going to be a little bit difficult, because you know every restaurant that you're going to, when you go to the bathroom, there's one way and it's a small corridor and stuff like crossing someone literally is impossible. So there has to be my understanding is that you need someone else to stand there and guide them. One after another. It's like a doorman.
I was giving somebody the airplane analogy the other day. You know, when you're sat on an airplane and you've got the little screen at the top saying the toilet's free for you to use now. I can see things like that coming into play in the future, because, you know, you're not going to have one staff, are you, paying them just to stand at the door of the toilet? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think it is. Tony, you're thinking something along that line?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I've been to some restaurants where the toilets like down 4 steps, you know, down a little corridor and past the kitchen, and, you know, the toilets there, the best food, but, you know, it's going to be tight. You know, things are going to have to adapt. I think it's going to be work in progress for, you know, the first definitely 2 to 3 weeks to see how restaurants adapt and how they adapt, you know. So you've got to see, you know, how the demand is going to be. Then, you know, you'll be adjusting every day. You know, the rules are going to change every day. You know, I think, you know, it's going to be work in progress, definitely, regards to how you plan your space, where you want your signage, where you want your PPE stations, you know, where you want your screens. So, you know, you're going to have to adapt once you've seen the demand, and it's going to be a changing restaurant, definitely, regards to how it's going to go forward. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Now, well, the time frame. Let's say if we were to come to my restaurant tomorrow, look around, and, you know, I've placed an order. How long is the time frame for you to come up with the signage and the screens?
Yeah, no screens. We're plenty in stock. So screens can be sent out directly to restaurants. They're very easy to fit for themselves. Regards to branding takes a little bit longer, maybe a couple of days, depending on what branding they want. But if they're looking for just partitioning screens, they can be sent out within 24 hours of an order. Signage is very easy to place around a restaurant as well. It all comes vinyl. You know, it's a sticky back sort of on floors and walls. And PPE as well. We've got a big warehouse full of PPE that can be sent directly out to a restaurant with the next day delivery. So it can work quick. I mean, we're also on bigger spaces. I don't know, depending, we're based in sort of South London, but we're also able to come out to see the restaurant, regards to if they want any further compliance. And
that's what I was going to ask. That's what I was going to ask you, Tony, that can someone how, let's say my place, I don't know how many screens I need or something like that. Is there something that you do? You come out and have a look at it?
We do. Again, we can have either a Zoom or a Teams meeting in regards to their space if they want it, if it's a matter of urgency, and we can do that as a consultation. Or, if it's viable, we can actually come out to the restaurant one evening and have a look at their space and advise regards to what screens they're going to need, where they're going to need their signage, where they're going to need their PPE, and how much PPE they're going to need, depending on how much staff they've got. So yeah, that can all be discussed regards to a Zoom meeting, or we've got plenty of staff that can actually go out and meet, managers of restaurants to discuss how best to go forward, really, depending on, the size of the restaurant capacity and number of sort of covers they do, really. So yeah, we've got a lot of experience in that field.
No problem. We are coming to end very shortly. It's about next 4 or 5 minutes. I want to speak to Natasha a bit more. Natasha, in terms of, obviously you're an interior designer and everything, at this moment, how do you picture yourself that obviously the restaurants, you've got your own clients and stuff. How can you help me sort of get, advising on the design of my restaurants? I mean, do you come out or do you do remotely, or what do you do?
I can do both. So obviously, because I'm just me coming into a restaurant, as long as we adhere with the social distancing, I can easily come into a space, have a look around, and advise accordingly. But obviously, everything can obviously be done online as well. I just need a few plans and some photographs to help kind of identify the space and what will work. But obviously, in person, there's nothing like it, is there? So.
Sure. And obviously, for our members, including on non-members, there are I'm talking about the Indian restaurant sector, the Chinese restaurants, the Turkish sector, all sectors, all cuisine. Is there something that you can offer discount to them at this moment?
I can give a free consultation over the phone, just an initial discussion with any of the Catering Association members to see what would be the best fit for them. I really want people to not spend any more than they need to right now. Obviously, if I need to go through the plans and everything else, it would take more time, but I will definitely give them the best offer. I'm releasing something at the moment, so I'll keep you updated on that, but you guys will get the best deal.
Sure, thank you very much. And do you have a website or a Facebook page or something like that?
Yeah, I can put the links in.
Yeah, please do that. Do that. Thank you very much, Natasha. Tony.
Yes.
Tony, yes. I want to hear. I mean, we're just coming to an end. Basically, how can you sort of like help people? I mean, is there something like what Natasha said, that free consultation, everything? You could do that as well.
Of course, like I said, we're happy to do a free consultation on anything in regards, even if it's PPE, really, just, discussing the number of staffs they have and what we can advise, what they're going to need regards to PPE, regards to sanitizing stations, where they need to be placed, regards to floor and wall signage, and obviously most importantly, screens. So we're able to offer a free consultation of what they're going to need regards to. It can be done virtually, or again, like Natasha said, we can come in and see the space. And that's key as well. It gives us a bit of spatial awareness regards to how big the restaurant is, and speak to them about their clientele and, on the demand they're going to have. And, we can discuss number of staff they have, how to make them compliant as well. Because like I said, we haven't sort of touched on that a little bit, but, the front of house people are key as well. That's visually what sort of guests are going to see in regards to how they are adhering to the legislation in regards to wearing gloves, wearing a mask,
that's right.
etc. as well, so you don't want to put guests off. You don't want to be sort of entering a sort of medical ward when you enter a restaurant regards to what they're wearing. You don't want to be frightened.
It's going to be very important because Natasha, you can put your website and the Instagram link on the comments. It will be more helpful. Yeah, you're right, Tony. We don't want to make it a hospital in there. People go in there and see that it's another hospital.
Exactly.
So we need to be very, very careful how we redesign the place. It is very important. Tony, what's your web address, please? How can people contact you?
Yep. So social media, we got the Facebook page and Instagram pages available. They can see our past sort of fittings and what we've done with other sectors. I think that's quite key. PPE is there as well. I'll put the website up as well, so they can have a look at the website. As well, and they can follow us.
What's the web address? Is it www.?
It's the Protective Screen Company.
Okay, .com is it?
.co.uk, and also yep, the same with the social media pages. And we're just launching the protectbox.com, which is a coming together of all the PPE we do in regards to screens, PPE, sanitizing stations, you know, the complete sort of package of what you need there. So there won't be an individual, but they can look on one website regards to everything they need. We also do deep cleaning as well. So it's a new thing we started a couple of weeks ago, which is going to be aimed at more restaurant, bars and pubs, etc. It's basically sanitizing the space because these places have been closed for 3-4 months. You know, it's just basically like a spray system that people come in and do for you. It just sort of cleanses the place. It's a deep clean, and it makes it ready, and it's something they can do on a regular basis. It's like a demisting. It doesn't affect the fixtures and fitting of the restaurant, but it's a quick sort of sanitization of the complete sort of area in regards to the restaurant, tables, bar area, etc. as well. So you've probably seen them, they come in a hazmat suit. It's like a fogging system that goes on prior to opening, which will be on the website as well. So again, it's lots of different things to consider. I don't think we've touched on that. I think Natasha did briefly in regards to the air circulation side of it as well. So it's something we can maybe discuss on the next the video briefing as well, regards to how you can go nearer the opening, maybe a week before, regards to, you know, other things that have come to light regards to opening and how they can work as well.
Yeah. Tony, is this the protectivescreencompany.co.uk?
Correct. That's it.
So it's the whole name, yeah?
It is indeed, yeah.
Okay, what I'm doing is I'm trying to put this on the screen for you. People can see that as well.
Company.co.uk.
UK. So it's www.theprotectivescreencompany.co.uk.
Correct. And that's the same name for our Facebook page and our Instagram page as well.
Sure, no problem.
So they can follow us, and on those there's loads of pictures of other sectors we've helped to reopen, so you can see all the full range of PPE that's going to be available, the different types of screens available there as well, regards to, you know, from partitioning wise as well, and other just little bits and pieces that we think will help. Regards to signage, we just briefly touched on. I think that's going to be key, whether you're going to have a one-way system in the restaurant on sort of heavy flow of people, signage that make sure they wash their hands, etc. Coming back to the table, you know, lots of different signage is available now. Floor signage, wall signage. There's a complete list there as well that you can obviously look at. And again, give us a call. You know, numbers can be put on the screen as well. Give me my mobile number can personally go up as well.
You know. If you could, Tony, if you could just put it on your on the Facebook page, just put it on the comment. Your web address and the phone number would be good. Obviously, obviously, the viewers can contact us via the COVID through our email address, and we will definitely pass your details over.
Yeah, pass details over.
And it is Natasha and Tony. It is a pleasure to have you both on the show. Definitely, we will definitely speak again. If there is anything that our viewers need, I'm sure they will contact you directly, and if they can come to us as well, and we can forward your details. We all need to work together to make this happen. The government is doing all it can. And we now have to do our bit. The time is coming. It's not far away. And hopefully the customers will come back again and again to make sure that we all survive this pandemic and hope for the best. Thank you very much, viewers, and we shall see you next week again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Hello?